Good morning, and welcome to the February 5th, 2024 Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee meeting. I'm Coordinator Thompson, and I will call today's meeting to order at 10:04 a.m. Next on today's agenda is the election of the chair and the vice chair for the 2024 year. I will be facilitating the election on behalf of the committee. The process for the election shall be as follows. I will start with the position of chair. I will call 3 times for nominations. Each nomination shall require a seconder. The nominee is allowed to nominate him or herself. However, a seconder is still required. Once I have called 3 times for the position of chair, I will close nominations and verify that the nominees wish to let their names stand. If there is only one nominee, that person shall be acclaimed. If more than one nominee, a secret ballot vote shall commence. I will then repeat the process for the position of vice chair, and when the election is complete, I will hand the reins over to the newly elected or appointed chair. Are there any questions before we get started? Member Thompson?
Is it possible to nominate someone that is not here in attendance?
I would suggest no, because they do have to advise they let their name stand for nomination. So that would be my opinion at this point in time, was that's not the case.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we get going? None? Okay. So the floor is now open for nominations for chair. Are there any nominations for chair at this time? Member Dubek?
I nominate Member Thompson.
Is there a seconder for that nomination? Seeing no seconder, that nomination did not hit the floor. I'll call a second time for nominations for the position of chair. Member Mackey?
I would nominate Member Dubik.
Is there a seconder for that nomination? Member Thompson?
I would second that nomination.
And calling a third and final time for nomination for the position of chair for the 2024 year. Seeing no further nominations, Member Dubik, do you wish to let your name stand for the position of chair?
I do.
Thank you. And at this time, Member Dubik, you've been acclaimed to the position of chair for the 2024 year. Moving on to the position of vice chair. The floor is now open for nominations for the position of vice chair. Member Dubik?
I nominate Member Thompson.
Is there a seconder for that nomination? Member Mackey? Calling a second time for nominations for the position of vice chair. And calling a third and final time for nominations for the position of vice chair. Seeing no further nominations, Member Thompson, do you wish to let your name stand?
Yes.
Yes. And at this time, you have been acclaimed, Member Thompson, to the position of vice chair for the 2024 year. So that concludes the election portion of today's meeting, and I will pass the chair to Chair Dubik.
Great, thank you. So we are moving on to item number 3, approve the agenda of the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee. Approve the agenda as circulated or as amended. So Member Thompson is a mover and Member Mackey is seconder. Any edits? And I see none. So we'll call that to a vote. Those in favor, and that passes. Item number 4, declaration of pecuniary interest. Does anybody have anything to declare at this point in time? Okay, as a reminder, you may always bring up an issue as we go along in the agenda. Item number 5. So the first item, 5.1, that the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee approve the minutes of 2023-10-02 as circulated or as amended. Move from the seconder. Member Thompson, Member McKee. Any items around the minutes? Okay, I see none. So we'll call that to a vote. Those in favor? Okay, that is carried unanimously. Moving on to section 6, Chatsworth update. So we do have a verbal update from Chatsworth. And who would be providing that today?
Yeah, normally that would be Patty, wouldn't it?
Manager Edwards, would you like to provide the update?
I don't really have any information to share on this sort.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Maybe just from the Chatsworth team?
Well, we, went through our budget process and we had I think an $80,000 increase in our contract with Waste Management for curbside pickup. I think the previous minutes reflected, an increase. It wasn't, that, I mean, I think the minutes indicated that we had an increase in curbside, but it was the contract price, so I don't think the amount of material hasn't increased, but it's the actual contract. So we had, went through the process with circular materials and had to do that whole contracting. Waste Management had an opportunity to redo their contract with us, and I think the previous contract had been probably in our favor, and with the increased prices of fuel and staffing costs, we saw a significant increase in our overall commitment to waste. So that was certainly a hit on our budget process. Had discussions in regards to some of the items that will be coming up further in today's agenda in regards to fencing, and certainly agree that the fencing should take place, but maybe at a different style of fencing, but we'll get into that later. So I can't really think of anything else. We continue to operate, I think it was October 1st. All the material from former Highlands Township and the village of Chatsworth has been diverted from the Mount Forest. So all the material from our municipality is now being taken to Mount Forest. Anything else, Liz? I think that's about all, Madam Chair, I have to report.
Great, thank you so much. So we'll just move that then to the motion that the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee receive the Chatsworth verbal update for information. A mover. Member Thompson, seconder, Member Mackey, those in favor. And that is carried unanimously. Moving on to item number 7, the Grey Highlands verbal update. And who will be providing that today? Dr. Moore?
So good morning, everyone. On the Grey Highlands side of things, one of the first things we want to update everyone on is that the county is moving forward with setting up a community of practice working group. So the county's, the purpose of the group is to do an environmental scan on how waste is managed throughout the county, to discuss the changing regulatory landscape, including challenges and pressures this is causing to all municipalities, and discuss opportunities for collaboration and sustainability to address some of the current challenges and best practices. So the county committee, or this new group, is meeting for the first time on February 29th. So some representatives from Grey Highlands, myself and Jen, and our CAO's assistant will be attending the meeting to try and get a feel for where the county's heading with this. So in preparation for this, the county's asked when our current contracts expire and what currently have for landfills and landfill space. So that information's been provided to them, and then there will be discussions at the county level, I guess, looking at waste and all the different curbside and diversion items as the county. So we just want to let Chatsworth know that the county is going to set that up, and that's moving forward. So it'd be interesting. We had talked with Chatsworth in this group about looking at something for blue box materials. So moving forward, once the new contracts are once 2026 comes and they're only gonna collect the residential portion on kind of jointly with our local municipalities as well for a type of collection if we wanted to provide that for our commercial or to other users that won't be collected. So that I'm sure will be one of the things that we will definitely bring up at the committee to see what other municipalities are doing. How we're gonna move forward with something like that as well. So, I'm gonna let you know that, annual report time till the beginning of the year, so we've been submitting our information to GM Blue Plane, so they'll be doing the annual report again for the site. So that's well on its way. And wanted to let the group know that Grey Highlands launched, so we started with the carts last year. We did hear from our residents that some of the residents, the carts weren't working for them, whether they were not here, put them out or bring them back in. So we launched a curbside alternative program. So we purchased bags with the Grey Highlands logo on it. So if residents want to bring their carts or turn their carts in, so they bring both garbage and recycling carts in, or they set up time for us to collect them. Then we would provide them with 52 of our Grey Highlands logo bags. But they have to then bring those bags to one of our sites. They don't get picked up at the curb because it's an alternative program. So we had a few, I think around half a dozen or so carts turned in so far. We just launched it a month ago. So we'll see how much of an update we get. Our thought process, I guess, with that is that we're paying for a lot of carts at seasonal residents that never get set out. So if we get those carts back, and it kind of comes off our list of stops with waste management. So instead of paying for that, we provide them with an alternative that they can actually use. That's where we're headed with that. We have been, this one's more of an outstanding capital, I guess, looking for the trailer unit that, so we can have the washroom and that at the Markdale site. We do have some quotes, but they are a lot harder to find than we had originally thought. So we are still working on that one. And last that I have is MECP. We did finally get notification from them that they are finally reviewing our ECA. So we had submitted last year to allow us to set up the reuse center. So we've been waiting for the MEC approval so that we could launch that, so that it is finally now in review. So once we get that review complete, which we're hopeful won't take very long, because it wasn't a very big amendment, that we can launch the reuse center and get that up and running. So unless Cia Golden has anything, that's all I have to read at this time.
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments? Member Matthew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Director Mortar. Just in regards to the county initiative, I do have some insight into what is transpiring there. We have a number of municipalities, 2, 3, 4 municipalities within the county that do not have their own landfill right now. So this was really initiated and driven by them to look at a county-wide system. So as far as our joint sites are concerned, it may be something that the committee wants to consider is looking at evaluation of our landfill. What is that actually worth? Those of us in Grey County that already have existing landfills have spent a lot of money. And if the county is looking at going county-wide, then there'd have to be compensation to those municipalities that have made a significant contribution into landfill already. So I'm not completely opposed to looking at it, but it has to be a fair agreement at the end of the day. So I have no idea what our landfills are worth currently. I know you can't get new ones, so there is a significant value attached to them. Our engineers may be able to assist with that, but I think that's information that both Grey Highlands Council and Chatsworth Council will need to go, or need to know if, we're looking at proceeding. The county would need to have it's a triple majority if we were going to make a change from our current system to go into a county-wide system. So there's going to have to be a fairness for the 5 municipalities. So Southgate, West Grey, Grey Highlands, ourselves, Blue Mountains, all have landfills. Hanover, down Georgian Bluffs, and Meaford do not. So that's kind of the split at the county level, but who has and who doesn't have. It's just a little bit of further information, and I think we need to start doing our homework.
Okay, thank you for those insights. Yes, Amber.
So just through you, a triple majority then, does that mean everyone needs to agree, or can we be outweighted by vote? The municipalities that you indicated that don't have a landfill currently are the largest within our municipality or within our county. What is a triple majority? Do you recall? I should know actually, but I can't. I think all have to agree.
Member Mackey, you may have an answer.
Yeah, and I won't get this completely right, but it is a triple majority. It's a majority of the electorate throughout the county. It's a majority of the member municipalities and a majority of county councillors, I believe, but there'll be some variances to that. We'd have to talk to the county clerk to get the actual definition, but it's a high threshold to meet. Like a significant change can't occur without the vast majority of the member municipalities being in agreement.
Yes.
For example, if 8 municipalities, Grey Highlands was the only one that wasn't in favor, it would still likely be a triple majority. But I'm just not sure how far down the line it goes. Because the electorate does make up a part of it, so Old Sound would have a higher weight, Blue Mountains would have a higher weight than what Chatsworth would, for example, but just exactly how that's determined, it's a combination of that.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I don't have anything to add on the triple majority. I think, Member Mackey explained it as best I know as well. So we can get clarification from the county clerk on what that would mean. I know we have had discussions about this at the CAO level, with county CAOs, and initially there was some reluctance from Town of Blue Mountains and Southgate, because obviously they have a robust program in-house themselves. But then as the conversation started to lean towards landfill and landfill capacity, it seems like, you know, over, I would say 12 months, 18 months, they've started to think, oh, well, this might be a benefit. So it'll be interesting, because as far as curbside, I know we're all struggling. You know, a lot of us are using the same contractor. I mean, it makes sense to go out at a county level rather than individual municipalities going. I think it makes sense for the providers as well, because they know exactly an entire geographic area, and then having pickup dates and all that stuff around the same time makes sense. I think where the big question is going to come, it is surrounding landfills and how that will all work. I know, you know, there's a value outside of the financial side of things to retaining landfill sites within the lower tier. But, you know, how that becomes part of the bigger picture, I don't know, or, you know, will it be two separate discussions and votes? You know, looking at curbside contract as one, and landfills and landfill capacity is another one. So my understanding is it's still very early days. I mean, the committee that was set up has recently been set up, I think just the end of last year, if I'm not mistaken. So it is just a kind of look more of a fact-finding mission at this point, to find out where the interest is and you know, what's feasible and what makes sense as a whole. So still got a while to go, but we'll certainly come back with the, explanation of the triple, majority.
Great, thank you for that. Further questions? Member Mackey.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I don't know if you need to, like, whether we ask the staff, to start looking at valuations, just so that we have that information. I'm not sure what that process looks like, but how do we determine the value of our current landfill and its capacity? I think that would be direction that over the committee should give the staff.
Thank you. CEO Govan.
Thank you. So, through the chair, I suspect that would involve engineers and appraisers. It could potentially be expensive, because it's very specialized, and we'd also have to factor in the, liability of the landfill as well, and, capacity. So I think a step towards that obviously is the annual report and getting the 2023 annual report. And then going back to respective councils and seeing, what, the appetite is first. I mean, if we go back to the individual councils, they may say, no, we're not giving up our landfills. I mean, I've had some conversations with certain members that, that's their feeling. So I wouldn't want to spend any money on evaluations if it's a flat out no from council. So I think we need to have the conversation at the council level first before staff starts. I mean, we need a budget as well, so.
Paula?
I certainly didn't want to see us spend a lot of money on it. Some of the previous engineering reports, I think we can gather and get some idea on what the valuation, like we've been provided some valuations in the past from the engineers doing our yearly reports based on the capacity and what, current dumping rates are at other landfills. So something simplistic like that even would be a benefit, just to give us some ballpark, so we're not floundering in the dark. That's all I was looking for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Moyer.
Yeah, just on that, we can talk to GM Blueprint as part of the annual report and just ask for some ballpark. I would say before we get into too much depth, it'd be nice to see where the county's going, and if we have some sort of an idea, like, or then the committee here, of what the value might be, I would probably push long before we get any further into the conversations about space and that, as which I'm sure West Grey and other municipalities that do have space, for the county to look at paying for like a higher evaluation, and then we would have our kind of number and then let them do the groundwork if that's the way they want to go, like a CA goal. And said the biggest thing we're looking to go there and listen to is the curbside and being able to work with the other lower tiers when it comes to especially the recycling side of things for our commercial users, so we can still provide that service to them if that's council's wish, in the future, once the province kind of takes over the household side. If we don't have our own trucks and we to try and get a contract just for the certain group of users or residents, I feel is important. And then, so to do that, we need to have a community scale for the different municipalities around to try and get it worth somebody to bid on that type. So that's kind of our main goal going to this county thing, is to look at the curbside and see where there can be efficiencies.
Thank you, Director Moyer. Further discussion? Yes.
Just on another topic, Director Moore talked about the bins that you're using now. How has the overall take been on the bins? We will have a contract coming up, and I understand, Grey Highlands really didn't even know their options. I'm just wondering how the majority of the public are finding the use of the larger bins.
You, Chair, I would say very good reception from the majority of residents. There have been a few that it didn't work for, or some issues here and there. The main one being the seasonal residents. So if they're only here on weekends and their collection day is say a Thursday, it makes it difficult for them to be able to get the bins out and not have them out for the whole week and put back in. So they've been, some of them have come up with alternatives. They've talked to neighbors or kids that are local that could put them out or take them back in for them, or if they're on a lower use road, or we worded our bylaw that if they're on a private road, they could just take them out and they have a private contractor that's doing the service there anyways. So our bylaw doesn't require them to bring them back in on a private road where we still do curbside collection, but on our own roads for road maintenance, they have to be taken back in. So they struggle a little bit with that, but most of the residents said, I was a little bit iffy at the start, but now that I see how easy they are to roll in and out, the use of them, we've had good reception. Again, there's the odd thing in the winter time where there's snowbanks and stuff, but we had that before. I think people seem to forget that a blue box can get knocked over by a snowplow, same as a cart. So I would say overall, we did do a survey. I don't know the exact percentage.
It'll be going to council, which we can report back to the committee as well.
So we did a satisfaction survey, the end of last year on the cards, and the results were showing that most people are, now that they're into the process, that satisfied with the service.
Member Manny.
Thank you for that. Just wondering, the overall tonnage that you're seeing, I mean, the bins allow for more garbage than what the old bag system allowed for, the cubic meters of the bins. Are you finding that there's more going into the landfills now than there was prior?
So there's a big debate out there, because even though we did have a size on the bag previously, it wasn't necessarily followed. Like you could get like contractor bags, there was a weight on it, so we still have residents saying that we're providing less of a service because we went from weekly to bi-weekly with the carts. So we did try, and council was very cognizant of the size. So we chose to move forward with a smaller garbage bin or cart than the recycling one. So we tried to make it as equivalent to the one bag per week for the cart, what goes in the cart. For the exact numbers of the tonnage, I would say we might be up a little bit more on our curbside. But we're a little bit less on what's actually going to the landfill here. So the curbside, as you know, all goes to Mount Forest. So we do see a little bit of an increase on the curbside, but then that's reduced what's going into our landfill here. So it's the same amount of waste is still there. It's just going to a different spot currently.
Further discussion?
Maybe just a point of clarification. So when staff does attend the county waste committees, those meeting discussions, they will be coming back through this committee as well, in terms of the outcomes, reports, minutes, etc.
Through you, but we haven't even met yet, so I don't know what the outcome, what is going to be, what depends on what the county provides. I guess we can do a verbal update of what we kind of talked about, but I don't know what we'll be getting back from the county staff yet, so I can't really commit to too much until after our first meeting or two.
Okay, thank you. Great. All right, I'll read the motion that the Joint Waste and Diversion Safe Committee receive the Grey Highlands verbal update for information. I'll move on to seconder, so member Mackey, member Thompson, those in favor, that is unanimously carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 8.1, the 2024 budget request updates, the Chatsworth and Grey Highlands. That the Joint Waste and Diversion Safe Committee received the 2024 budget request updates for information. I can move on seconder, member Thompson and member Mackey. So that is on the floor for discussion. May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So regarding the update that you've provided here, I didn't see any notes about reducing days of service at the site. Was that also discussed at council? Yes, please, Member Matthew.
Our council supported the reduction of the day of service.
Okay.
And my understanding was, through the budget process at Grey Highlands, that was going to be a consideration. I'm not sure where things are at. You still can see in our report the feedback from members of the community. I think this board had also supported it, if memory serves me correct. It was a while ago, but I think this board supported it. It was going back to Grey Highlands Council, so Chatsworth did support it. Are you wanting to discuss now, Madam Chair?
So maybe we can, so I think maybe it'd be good if we just do a quick, maybe a recap of where Grey Highlands is, with its budget and reviewing these items. And, how we match up with the results from Chatsworth. And Director Moyer, so I'm just wondering maybe if you can take the committee through where we are at with our budget items.
Yeah, for sure. Through you, Chair. So currently, Grey Highlands Council we have not like finished our budget process. We have been through all of the items like at a cursory level or first time. So a few of the things, Grey Highlands Council, similar to Chatsworth Council, did support the traffic barrier arm. And moving forward with that, it's not again finalized, but they did approve that. The Grey Highlands Council did approve to move forward with the exit road, which I think is something we do need to talk about. As Chatsworth Council did not approve to move forward the exit road, and the resolution just said it was due to concern maybe with the base. So I was going to just to bring that up, just wondered if you recall what those concerns were, or when we were on site, we seen what was there.
Was because of everything. Member Matthew or Member Thompson?
Go ahead, Liz. I mean, I wasn't at that site meeting, so I can only tell you what the discussion, as I recall, at council, but Liz was at.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I think what council had felt is that with a few upgrades, I think you had talked about some material coming in from elsewhere, and then it would be paved, is that correct?
Through you, Chair, yeah, so you're correct. So we ended up having a couple of local projects in Markdale where there was asphalt grindings that were kind of looking for a home. So we were able to secure those asphalt grindings and place them on the base, or to help build the base for the road. So they are on there. We did compact them and so we believe that there's fairly good base there. The number that we had in the budget was higher to include the granular for the base. So the number that was in the budget that we had to submit in August was much higher than what it looked like by the time it came to council in December. So the total maybe is, I'm not sure if that's what council was concerned about, was the total cost. But obviously the cost will only be now for the asphalt to actually cap it and finish off.
And I think what Chatsworth Council had thought is that just the grindings would pack down into a nice surface for the landfill entrance, so that was what they were thinking, and not cap it. So whether you feel that would be sufficient. That was the thought process in my recollection.
Director Moore?
Through you, Chair, so, we can see what the road comes out like in the spring. Obviously, it's not a road, but, there will be significant traffic going around, like leaving the site and that. So our thought is that we have a good base there to try to protect that and kind of get everything sealed up. Would be to put a coat of asphalt over it and reduce the maintenance, or even in the wintertime, trying to plow off asphalt grindings, or you're getting into stirring it up, and then you let the moisture and freeze thaw in. So, but we're open to letting you go for time being. I mean, we don't have approval, that's kind of where we're at anyway, so.
Yes, Member Patton.
Liz is starting to refresh my memory from the conversation that our council had, and I think the question was whether or not, access into a landfill needs to be paved, why can't it be a gravel road going into a landfill? Our other landfill, is gravel, certainly not paved, and, the merits, I guess, and we have a lot of gravel roads within our two municipalities, so why does a road into a landfill need to be paved? I think that was the heart of the questions. I would certainly be content with us leaving it for a year to see, how it holds up, how it doesn't hold up. What the volumes are. I mean, some of the volumes on our gravel roads probably exceed what the volume into the landfill. So just, in a tight budget year, is it a necessity? Those were some questions from Jamie. Do you remember anything else in regards to that?
Yeah, through you, Chair. So some of the comments at our council was, with the grindings and stuff, people feel that it will pack in time, like not right away, but in time it'll almost turn itself into a hard surface. I'm not sure that will happen or not, but, there was really no appetite for our council to spend the money to surface it at this point. Cause they feel that the grindings and stuff will make a good base. Time basically will tell, and I believe this is on the exit part of the roadway, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was one of the comments. This is where people have already came in, done their stuff. One of the comments was, well, once you're past the scale, you're driving on gravel anyway. So on the way out, does it really need to be? So that was the gist of the conversation that night when it was more or less relayed that they didn't want to support it.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for providing that additional information. Maybe I'll just do a quick, like from the Grey Highlands perspective. I know just to build on Director Moyer. So the thinking was, let's see sort of, how it does develop, after the winter, how it compacts. But we did also carry it, understanding that we wouldn't have to spend the initial dollar amount. I think it was a higher dollar amount. It would be a much lower dollar amount just to sort of have it and just squeeze and play. And so we did, Grey Highlands Council did pass it, understanding that it would be at a reduced cost than presented. Yes, Member Mackey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What was the reduced cost?
Director Moyer.
Through you, Chair, we don't have the exact cost, it would just be based on our asphalt tender for the year. And then we would have to figure out the size. So the original estimate was to do the base, the aggregate for the base as well as the asphalt. So it would just be for the asphalt part, and it would be based off of our tender for asphalt for the year.
Yes.
Yes, just for clarity, so when Chatsworth Council didn't approve it, does it go forward or does it wait for a year? Just for clarity, sorry, I'm just a little confused how that works out in the end.
Yeah, so it's a great question in terms of process.
So, through you, Madam Chair, it would depend on whether Grey Highlands wants to foot the bill for the entire cost. And if not, then it would be put on hold for a subsequent.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Member Mackey.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So not knowing what the cost is, maybe the cost could come back to the committee. I mean, you were looking at from $5,000, which obviously is going to be reduced. So that would have some bearing on the decision from Chatsworth. So I'm not saying it has to be completely dead in the water, but, more information would need to come back and for our council to have a look at justification.
So that is a fair request, so maybe if staff can take that away or to get an estimate on that.
Good.
Great, thank you. Further discussion? Yes, member Matthew.
So the other one was the fencing, and I think originally it was chain link fencing at $20,000. The discussion around our table was there must be alternate types of fencing that could be put up, whether it be cage wire, whether it be posts with other posts across it. We do have fencers in the area that we just thought there was a cheaper option than going with the $20,000. We don't, or we acknowledge that a fence is needed, but it was the type of fence and the amount that we were willing to spend. And I think I did hear that Grey Highlands had some discussions in regards to that also, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you for that. Maybe I'll just provide just a quick update in terms of council's discussion on that item. So we had the exact same conversation. We did ask for the budget number to be reduced. Actually don't have it in front of me. I'm not sure if Director Moore does. But we did talk about, cage fencing is cheaper, maybe we just, so we asked for a reduced cost to update the security fence. Director Moore, did you have any additional detail on that?
Just that I believe what is potentially approved right now is up to 7,500
Yeah, that sounds right.
for fencing.
Yeah, so we reduced our portion to 7,500 for fencing. So then in total.
I think the total.
Oh, sorry, total,
Council
sorry.
recommends the total be 7,500, so it would be 3,750 from each municipality if we were to move forward with some sort of fencing just to improve the at the front.
I mean, I can't speak on behalf of our entire council, but I think they would be happy that an alternative was looked at, because the recognition was we need some fencing. People can't just be driving in around the barriers. So my thought is that they would be appreciative of that new amount.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How many feet of fencing is it approximately?
I think the quote that we had got for the chain link fence was 180 meters of fencing. And now that's just to kind of build up the very front where the fence is in very, we're just repairing.
750 per municipality would easily get us our cage wire.
Great, thank you. Further discussion?
I'm sure you want support from this committee for that 3750 for each municipality, or?
So I believe we would have to look for the councils to approve that. So since Grey Highlands budget, so we're still in draft, we're still in conversation. We'll go back tomorrow, actually, back to budget. And so it is part of our draft budget. So maybe it goes back to your council and then you can make that decision.
So I think if there was a resolution from this committee, then usually then it goes back to each respective council. So if we made a resolution today, that the Chatsworth takes that back to their council, but then we're all on the same page again.
Member Mackey.
So I would move that the committee supports the combined fencing total of 7,500. You could say that very well. That each member municipality support $3,750 for the new fencing.
Thank you. I think our coordinator Thompson can help us with the wording. Member Thompson?
Would we add in to delay the paving as well? Or did we discuss bringing back the price? before it goes forward. Maybe that would be the correct wording. And put it in the same resolution, because they're both budget items.
I think that they should be separate recommendations from the committee, so maybe we'll do one at a time.
Okay, thank you.
So once we get the word in, we'll just restate it and reverse. Yes, Member Thompson?
I was just going to second the resolution then regarding the fencing.
And if I may, Chair Dubé, I have included, in the recommendation, that it to be shared equally, as a fixed capital asset as per the agreement. Is that the appropriate terminology for the fencing?
Yep.
Okay. So, the recommendation reads, moved by member Mackey, seconded by member Thompson, that the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee recommends that Chatsworth and Grey Highlands councils support the installation of security fencing at the Holland Markdale Waste Diversion Site at a cost of $7,500 to be equally shared between the municipality of Grey Highlands and the town of Chatsworth as a fixed capital asset according to the agreement governing the jointly owned waste disposal and diversion site.
Does that meet your expectations, the motion?
That's why she paid the big bucks.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. So that has been moved in second. So I will call the vote. Those in favor? That is carried unanimously. And then member Thompson, you have a second motion.
Yes, I would move that the saving in the capital budget be delayed until either for a year or until new pricing is received.
Director Murray, do you?
Through you, Chair, I think, like by Chatsworth not approving it, it's delayed. So the resolution today, if you would like to see, we could, the committee asked for a price. Or an updated cost estimate to come back, is for the paving of that exit road. And then we can bring that back this year and then go from there.
Okay, that sounds fair.
That's all fair. Member Mackey.
I would like to see this deferred for a year. Let's see where we're at a year from now, if the road on addition of the granular that's been put on. Justification of pay.
CEO.
Thank you, Chair Dubik. So I would suggest that the committee, vote to either postpone it or not support it at this point, and then that will be reflected in the minutes going back to the respective councils. And, staff can bring it forward at a later date, whether that's during the year, we can assess conditions and see how it's going, we can get some more definitive pricing. Maybe it's something we can tack on to, some roadworks that's being done, and we might be able to qualify for some cheaper pricing and address it at that point in time. But I would suggest that the committee not support it at this time, if that's the route they want to go.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Member Thompson?
I would move that resolution.
Okay, great. Member Mackey, does that, that's fine?
I apologize. Chair Dubik, can you provide some clarity? There was a few options there,
I
so.
can provide an option, maybe so through you, Chair, I think, as of right now, that the committee recommends that we bring back updated pricing for next year's budget. And at that time, we can assess if it's needed or not. That puts it off for the year, and then still keeps it on the radar that we get an updated price before next year or not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Vic, that the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee recommend that Chatsworth and Grey Highlands councils defer the completion of the asphalt paving of the new exit roadway at the Holland Markdale Waste Diversion Site. And that the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee recommend that Chatsworth and Grey Highlands councils direct staff to seek out pricing for the completion of the asphalt paving of the new exit roadway at the Holland Markdale Waste Diversion Site for the committee's consideration for inclusion in the 2025 municipal budget.
Right, so Member Thompson is moving, Member Mackey is seconding. Any further discussion on that? Okay, see none, those in favor? All right, that is carried unanimously. Thank you for that. Any further discussion on this item? We've talked about the traffic barrier on the exit road, the chain link fencing, and the reduced date or a reduced day, which was supported by both councils. And so I guess in terms of process for that item, Director Moyer, would staff just be connecting to, staff will be sort of taking next steps from there, or how would the next steps around that work?
So once Grey Highlands budget is approved and that, like you said, council did support it. The staff in Grey Highlands were looking for a little bit more direction from either the committee or each council's on if they had a preferred day to reduce the service. So we did do a survey, which is attached to the minutes or the agenda here today. It was not really supported by the residents, and most of the residents did want to see at least the same level of service, if not more. Obviously, with a tough budget year, it's hard to increase services. We understand that. We just didn't know if there was a preferred day that the committee or either the councils had thought about for the reduction, or if that was just going to be completely left up to staff to decide.
Mackey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess, it's certainly worth, and I appreciate the survey. I'm just wondering, how was the survey put out? Was it just the people that were utilizing the site, or how did you get feedback from the community in regards to the results?
So we did have the survey through our Connect Grey Highlands, I believe, and then advertised it through our different social media channels. We had printed copies at the Waste and Diversion site that staff handed out at the scale, and that people could either go on and fill it out, go online, or they could actually, we took a number of handwritten comment back while people were on site, they gave it back to the staff, and then that was inputted into the survey results as well. So we tried to get it there as best we could.
So when we first started talking about it, I know there was going to be some cost savings. Can we just have an update on what the savings may be by the reduction of one day, please?
Director Moyer?
Through you, we talked about it a number of times. I don't have that audit sheet in front of me, but just going off memory, I think it was around 60,000 in savings to shut that ticket an extra day.
Yeah, it's gonna say 20,000. Never mind.
So I was, reading through this last night. I certainly understand from a convenience standpoint and, it was a lot of contractors that, were saying, how they rely on it to be able to dump their trailers, and certainly gets that, and I don't wanna stymie, any growth or any of those businesses, so I was thinking, would there be an opportunity, we're still reducing those costs, but instead of being open for a full day, could we reduce that day and be open a couple of afternoons or morning? I'm not sure what the most popular time is, but if we didn't completely reduce a day, but it was open for 4 hours, I mean, I know if I'm a business guy, if I've got access to it, I can make things work, just knowing that it was open half day, so we would still in effect be reducing the amount of time. And some cost savings for the two municipalities, but access, we wouldn't reduce any days, we just reduce hours. So I just throw that out I guess I'm looking for some input from other members and our senior staff, whether or not there'd be any potential to look at that sort of situation. I know in reading some of the feedback, some mentioned about some of the other landfills in Grey Highlands that they'd like to see open. From a staffing perspective, I don't know, could staff be in Artemisia in the morning and go to Markdale in the afternoon type? I just throw it out there for comment. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Member Mackey, Director Moyer?
Through you, Chair. You bring up good points, and definitely contractors, if they're looking for it to be open, like you say, would make it if, whatever time it was. From staff's perspective, right now, we have talked to the site, staff a number of times. One thing that they mentioned, and I think it was even mentioned maybe in the survey, I can't remember for sure, but was looking at instead of maybe reducing a day overall, would be having like almost like summer versus winter hours. Winter time, there's not quite as much construction in that, so maybe you could reduce the like half the year through the winter, reduce that day completely, but then have the full day so you're essentially getting similar to what you said, half the time. But then in the summertime, when it's more construction season, and that you're to be open for that full day. But that we would look to the committee for kind of direction on that, or if the committee would like the 4 hours. I don't think it would make it very tricky to move from one site to another. We'd have to alter all the hours, then staff time for moving from Artemisia over, then they have to set up and change floats and stuff. It would, I mean, it could be done, but it would end up being instead of 4 hours at each site, maybe like 3 hours at each site, so they'd have time to move and still be within their 8-hour day. We would look to the committee for kind of direction on that.
Yes, Madam CEO.
Thank you, Chair Dubek, through you. Yeah, one of the challenges of recruitment is having these split kind of shifts. And we've seen it in our Parks and Rec department as well with having 4 arenas. Hiring staff to work 3 hours at one arena and then travel to another one. It is really hard. We find with Osprey and Artemisia, the attraction is local people who live close to that and they work the one day and it's a good part-time job for them. So I think what Director Moyer has suggested about winter versus summer hours, because if you look through the survey, there's a lot of comments about being open more in the summer and later perhaps in the summer, and longer hours. And if we were to do half, a full day in the winter and then have it open again in the summer, that would give you your kind of half, staff, cost, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you look at the annual, you'd be closing for half of the year for one day. Just a thought.
Yeah, those are good options. Yes, Member Mackey.
Thanks, Chair. Please enlighten me on the Grey Highlands Council discussions in regards to this, because if both councils have agreed that it should reduce one day, then I think we need to try and come up with that budgetary figure, if that's been the decision of both councils. So certainly Chatsworth has decided that they want those budgetary reductions. How we do that, I think, this committee can make recommendations, but can you just share with us some of the discussions from Grey Highlands?
Yes, so very similar, we did, so the Grey Highlands Council landed on reducing, one day at the website. And, as I'm trying to jog my memory now, I know we talked about, sort of, which day that might be. Don't think we necessarily landed on a date. However, it was the wish of council to, in terms of the budgetary, pressures to, to reduce it, to reduce hours, and to reduce the day. So I think, both councils landed on the same, issue of let's reduce it by a day, but then it's how do we implement that to best maybe meet the needs of our community based on the survey results that we and comments that we have received. Member Thompson.
I had forgotten which days were actually open. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Saturday? Yes,
So we're open Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. And just an update, so the total cost to close one day for the entire year was $26,000 worth of it.
Right, and so that was 26,000 in total, so then it would be split.
Due to the, by the percentage.
Right, okay.
So like Councilor Dubik said, so our council has approved that one day closure as of where the budget stands right now, but we're not finished, unfortunately, but so that if there was another option, I don't know how we would get that back to our budget process, but we couldn't squeak it in somehow.
Member Thompson?
So if I recall correctly, though, it is staffed more days than these 4 days. Is that correct? Because they're covering.
So Director Moore.
Yeah, through you, Chair. So there's two types of staff, basically. So there's the attendants that are there physically when it's open, and then we have operators or one operator at the site. So if there is other waste streams that are coming in or to do other work, that there are staff there typically Monday to Friday, not necessarily at that site, but Grey Highlands, all of Grey Highlands Waste and Diversion. Staff members, so it's time that their time gets split between wherever they're working.
Right, yeah, so then the $26,000 is the representative savings based on the reduction of attendance. If we do reduce hours by 1 day. Member Matthew.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Would you be able to staff it if we reduced 2 half days? Continue to have the same number of days that it's open, but reduce it to 2 half days, so we have 4 days. Sorry, yeah, we'd have 3 full days and 2 half days. Are we able to staff that?
Director Moore, what do you want?
Through you, Chair, I just like off the top of my head, we definitely could do whatever our councils recommend. You wouldn't see, I would say, the full savings, because if you open for a half day, there's there's time at the start to get set up and have the site ready, and there's time at the end for reconciliation and all your financial stuff. So it wouldn't be the full savings, but it's definitely a good option to keep more days available at just at a shorter period of time.
Alma?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Director Moore, operationally, if it was available to the public 3 hours, is that a benefit to the public and to contractors that just need to empty their trailer? Would the site be too big? I mean, you know what we're trying to achieve here. So is there a better way than just shutting it completely for a whole day for the public? That's what I'm trying to get at here.
No, I hadn't, through you, Chair, sorry, considered the 2 half days necessarily, but I don't think that's a terrible idea, really. I think that's probably a good alternative to being open for the 2 full days, is the 2 half days, and like you say, if they know when it's available, they'll just have to come during that time and make it.
I guess it's really hard for the, if this is new information for the committee, and for our staff to consider. So I don't know if we, ask that this be brought back. I think we do know, Madam Chair, that both councils want some reduction. I think if we can have a reduction and not impact the public to a larger degree, I would anticipate both councils would support that. That's kind of where I'm sitting.
Yeah, and so appreciate the intent, because I do agree that we all have sort of this same intent of, reduction plus, try to impact the general public as little as possible and try to accommodate. Madam CEO, how best to move forward?
Thank you, Chair Dubek. Again, it would be a recommendation from the committee, so the committee could say after discussion, the committee feels it would be a better opportunity for the residents if, rather than closing 1 day, it closed 2 half days and kept the same schedule for daily opening, just reducing the hours. So it would be a recommendation from this committee to the respective councils for consideration.
Okay, thank you. So maybe would somebody like to put that forward as a recommendation? Yes.
Procedurally, I would like to point out that I believe what the committee is considering at this time is a reconsideration of what was previously put forward by the committee in the minutes, July the 4th. That the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee recommend that Chatsworth Council and Grey Highlands Council consider a reduction of 1 day of service at the Highlands site. Would we be considering a reconsideration of that motion that was carried by the committee? So we're going to be making an amendment to what was approved at that time. So procedurally, based on the Grey Highlands procedure bylaw, the committee would need to make a motion to reconsider GWDC 2023-31, and that requires a 2/3 vote to put it back on the floor, and then we can make any amendments from there.
And Director Moore, do you have a comment?
Just on that, if we're still considering 1 day reduction just on how we're doing that 1 day, would the committee just recommend that staff bring back proposal on options maybe for the 1 day reduction? It would include the half day. It's still we're still looking to reduce by 1 day, but how we do that maybe?
That's fair. Yes, Manager Edwards.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And just maybe furthermore to that, doing the 2 half days would not maybe be the same savings as the 26,000, because being open for 3 hours or hours, like Sean said, or Director Moore, sorry, there's going to be some startup and ending day time. So I just don't want there to be some thought that 26,000 may be the savings number. It could be a little bit reduced.
So yes, thank you for that point, and that would then be also then captured in the report as we look at those options. Yes, follow up.
I appreciate the clerk's concern about reconsideration. I don't necessarily agree that if the net effect is the same in the number of hours of operation, we still, by opening up 2 half-days, we are still reducing a day of operation, which was, in my mind, the intent of the committee and our council. So I'm certainly, happy to move in that direction. I guess knowing that both councils want to see the amount of savings based on a full day's closure. If the staff are bringing back a report, maybe it's only open in recognizing that there is some opening up time that is required. Maybe it's only operational for 3 hours to the public on those 2 days to make sure that we achieve the savings that both councils have agreed to. I'd hate to be bringing this back to our 2 councils after they had that discussion on the total savings that they're requiring. So I would like to see the hours of operation reduced to give staff the opportunity to do whatever they do with their float. Those hours are being taken now when they're starting a day. It's just done over the full day. So I think it's doable. 3 hours, I mean, if I know my dump's open, my landfill is open for 3 hours and I really need to get there, then I can get there. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Madam CEO.
Thank you, Chair Dubik. I think, just in the clerk's defense, she's taking it in the literal sense. It does say 1 day. I think, over the discussions, the concern that the committee and both councils have had is, what is the cost to reduce it by 1 day? I think Director Moya's suggestion of putting options in a report to bring back to the committee, is a good compromise. At the end of the day, we're looking at $26,000 in savings. How do we achieve that? And so I think we've captured enough to bring back some suggestions, but I just didn't want to defend the clerk because she was taking it literally. It does say 1 day, so.
Thank you for that. Yes, Member Thompson.
Yes, I don't think it was meant to be offensive.
Yeah.
It's just a point of clarity.
Yeah,
I
always
actually,
the clerks.
you have to. I think it's a good idea to try to save the $26,000 and it is less impact on our constituents as well. To try to keep it open all 4 days that it is currently, it will have less impact on them. They'll just have to start to realize the difference in the hours. So if we can make it work, I think that would be great. So, do we need a resolution towards that then?
Yes, we're getting
Thompson?
Thank you, Chair Dubik, through you, Mayor Thompson. Yes, I would suggest that we do. And I would just like a little bit of clarity. The Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee is recommending that both councils direct staff to bring back a report for the committee's consideration.
On options to reduce the total annual cost. By the 26,000 and and lessen the impact to residents for the daily polluters.
Member Mackey.
I would certainly move that, Madam Chair, and just a couple more questions if it is on the floor.
Thank you, Chair Dubik. Sorry for the wait. I have that this motion has been moved by, Member Mackey. I'm a seconder at this time. That the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee recommend that Chatsworth Council and Grey Highlands Council direct staff to bring back a report for the committee's consideration, including options to reduce the total annual operation cost at the Martel Holland site by $26,000 and operational considerations to lessen the impacts of the reduction to the public.
Does that meet your expectations? Fantastic. Okay, and seconder, Member Johnson. And Member Mackey had a few questions.
Yeah, just, when we're looking at this, and I don't want to get into the, operational aspects as far as staffing goes. But could a consideration, instead of it being open 8 hours a day, could a consideration be that it's open 6 hours? I don't know whether these are full-time staff, whether they're part-time staff. Instead of being open 8 hours a day, is it 4 days a week at 6 hours a day? Does that provide better service to our public? I'm not sure operationally, we still get the same savings because it's the number of hours of operation. So, we're taking it, if it was open 8 hours a day at 4 days, it was 32 hours. If we're reducing, 8 hours off that, and then we're going to be open 24 hours. But how do we best operate at 24 hours a week? Just something for the staff to have a look at.
Thank you for those comments. And so I think that was clear to staff about, looking at options of how best to balance our public expectations and their needs with, finding the cost savings. Is that fair?
Thank you, Chair Dubik, through you. Yes, I think staff have enough information. They've got the intent of what the committee is trying to achieve here. And we can move forward with doing some analysis and bringing back some suggestions to the committee.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Member Thompson.
Yes, before Mayor Mackey had mentioned that, I was thinking, yes, which days would we want to reduce? And it's staff that would know best what days that would be as well. So, yeah, any of those scenarios that achieve the same outcome of the $26,000 reduction, I think would be, acceptable to either council.
Thank you for that. Member Mackey.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I do believe Saturday is an important day for people. That would be the only day that I think it should be in operation. The weekdays, certainly staff are going to have the best idea of what is going to be most convenient, primarily for our business community. Retirees can go whenever they want. But for our business community, I think our staff have the best idea about what days of operation it should be in for them. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair Dubik, through you. I just totally agree with what Member Mackey is saying with the weekends, and we do have a lot of seasonal residents that do use our landfill sites on weekends too. I just wanted clarity from Director Moyer that the Connect Grey Highlands survey, I don't believe council has seen this yet. Just the committee.
Through you, they have seen this one. It went to Grey Highlands Council first. What they haven't seen is the cart satisfaction survey.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Mackey.
Just, one other comment about, the survey. It's great that people are participating in it. It's people that are, based on the information, primarily using it. So it was 132 people out of, 17,000. So, we have to think about all those people that aren't utilizing and aren't going to the landfill that are paying taxes. So we have to weigh it all out. And all has to be part of a consideration. So.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay,
We have not made a vote on this item.
okay, thank you. I was gonna check on that. Okay, so we do have the resolution, so that's been read, so we just need to take a vote on that.
Yes, it's been moved and seconded.
Okay, so those in favor? Okay, that is unanimously carried. Renee,
If I may, Councillor Dubik, I apologize. There was the recommendation that was included on the agenda, the Joint Waste and that the Joint Waste and Diversion Committee receive the 2024 budget request updates for information. That was moved and seconded and a vote was never
Not been
taken.
made yet.
So I would suggest, at the conclusion of the discussion, this happen, it possibly take a vote on that.
Thank you so much. Any further discussion? Okay, so we'll take a vote on that motion. So those are,
I have a question on that resolution. What was it exactly?
So the committee moved and seconded, the recommendation that was included on today's agenda that the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee received the 2024 budget request updates for information. It was moved and seconded and then there was never a vote.
Okay, so our discussion kept going.
Yes.
Yes, member Maggie.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So this resolution is a follow-up to the decisions that we had previously made around the 7,500 and paving. That's the budget update that we're approving now.
My apologies, I should have captured this a little bit sooner. This recommendation was put on the floor at the opening of the discussion, and then the discussion created a number of other motions that were subsequently passed. So just procedurally to clean up what was left open on the floor, I think it would be best to just vote on this before we move on.
Just for information.
Yeah.
This is just the information agenda item. So just the for information agenda item 8.1, those in favor? That is unanimously carried. Thank you. So then I will then move on to 8.2. So that the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee received the Waste and Diversion Site Survey results for information under the seconder, Member Thompson, Member Mackey. And so that is on the floor for further discussion. I know we've already started to sort of have some conversation around that. Any further follow-ups? Yes, Member Mackey.
Well, I would encourage the members of the public that question council to certainly put their name forward the next election. There was concerns about the council members and the decision-making process, so they certainly have every opportunity to put their name forward.
Absolutely, that will be coming up in a couple of years. Thank you for that comment. Any further discussion on that survey? So I will just make a comment. I thought that the survey was well done. It was informative. So yes, it's, very, it's very targeted, it's, we're getting input from those that are, I think, using, the site on a, sort of on a regular basis, typically, I think, and it's the majority here, but still very good information to receive back. So thank you to staff for that. Member Mackey.
No, you're absolutely right. It was good information to have, and part of the discussion today is a result of the feedback that personally I saw in and around the contractors and stuff. And I think, the committee's trying to find a way to reduce the pain and, still come up with some savings, but also, not hurt our contractors. So I think that was valuable information.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion? All right, those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Moving along in our agenda, 1.1, so our next meetings. So our next meeting will be on Monday, May 6th at 10 a.m. And again, the location here at the Municipality Grey Highlands Council Chambers. And then our final recommendation of the Joint Waste and Diversion Site Committee adjourn at 11:28 until the next meeting or until the call of the chair. Mover and a seconder, Member Thompson, Member Mackey, favor, this carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And have
Thank you, Madam
a
Chair.
lovely rest of your day.